In regards to the colors of what women wear, what women don't wear, um, I've spoken about this in lectures before, and people need to always remember that there is halakha, not opinion, halakha. Halakha means that there's a Torah law that was reviewed by the sages over the last couple of thousand years, countless times, and after that, they everyone has their da'at Torah on it. We are not allowed to give our opinion on da'at Torah. We simply obey. It's ideal to be a robot. I know people don't like that term. People don't think being a robot is good. But when it comes to following halacha, a person should aspire to be a robot. So that means that we have to remove our own opinions. We have to remove our own thoughts, because the sages are much smarter than what we could ever be, and they understand what's allowed, what's not allowed, much more than what we do. So with that being said, when it comes to colors and women's wearing clothes, first and foremost, the only color that was ever mentioned to be problematic, let's say, was red. But not all shades of red are the same. And that's why one of the current Gedolei Ador, Rav Mazuz, actually says that red is allowed. Where is the source? Source is the Eshet Chayil song that we sing on Friday. That the color that the woman wears, the Eshet Chayil, the woman of valor, is actually red. A lot of people think it's purple, but he actually is the world's biggest expert on Hebrew, biblical Hebrew. And he actually says, no, it's actually what they're referring to as red, meaning she was wearing red. So now, does that mean that every red is allowed? No, that's not what he's saying. But colors in general, by default, it's not just a simple, okay, this color is forbidden forever. What it means is that a person needs to know that you're allowed to look good, you're allowed to be attractive, but not attracting. Meaning, you're not allowed to be a stop sign. You're not allowed to be a flashlight. You're not allowed to be some type of traffic sign where pretty much when you walk, the whole world has to change, turn their heads. So what color is that? That's any color. Meaning that you can wear any color as long as it's not attracting. It could be attractive. It can look pretty. It should be pretty. There's no problem being pretty, but it cannot be attracting. So that's why, for example, if a person ever wears, let's say, a red, first of all, it shouldn't really be completely red, because red has its nature where if you're wearing completely red, you're gonna be a stop sign, even if it's a darker red. But nonetheless, it could be red with, let's say, a mix of a few other colors, perhaps. It could be a purple with several colors, or perhaps a mix of a few things. These brighter colors should be mixed with a few other things, whereas the darker colors could be more solid. But again, remember, it's not that we're trying to make every woman ugly. It's in essence what we want to do is not make her into a walking, living stop sign. And that's really what people fail at miserably in misunderstanding, like this Manis Friedman, where he pretty much says, no, beauty is to show off, beauty is for people to see. This is the exact opposite. Just like Rabbi Levin over here said, it's the antithesis of the Torah. He's saying literally the opposite of what you're supposed to do. So it's not so much the colors, it is more specifically the style that the person is wearing. So the clothes should not be attracting attention as far as the colors. Shouldn't be like some bright yellow, solid bright yellow. Even though it's not red, it still wouldn't be allowed. Why? Because even the dogs will turn if you're wearing completely bright yellow. You'll look like the sun. So a person needs to use their head and understand that, yes, I'm allowed to look attractive, but not attracting. And every woman knows what gets more and more attention. Second thing is, all of the clothes that a woman wears need to be loose fitted. Loose fitted. Loose fitted means loose fitted. Many women say, oh yeah, this is big on me, but in reality, she's the only one that thinks it's big on her, because what she's wearing to the rest of the world looks like a second layer of skin. Clothes should be loose fitting. It shouldn't be tight. Now, it doesn't mean that she has to wear a sack, but again, it should be loose fitting where it's leaves some things to the imagination, if you will. The third thing is that she has to make sure that it covers her body in all of the places that must be covered, which means the only thing that you're allowed to show as a woman is your hands, the beginning of your wrists, and your feet, pretty much, and the beginning of your shin. That's it. Which means that a woman has to always wear a dress that's loose-fitting, where it's covering the neckline. Needless to say, all of that stuff that's over there on the chest as well, but it has to cover the neckline to the extent where it covers the bones. Those bones that you have on the neckline must be covered at all times, and that part has to be not like one of these shirts where if you bend over, pretty much is the ocean opens up and you pretty much can look down the shirt. A woman needs to be clever here, not be a fool. So the clothes have to cover the neckline, must cover the elbows. Obviously, short sleeve shirts are forbidden forever. You're only allowed to wear it in the shower. So you have to cover the elbows at all times, and ideally cover even up to the wrist, like up to the hands, ideally. But the minimum requirement is that it's always covering the elbows. A woman should never play with fire where she's wearing something that just barely covers the elbows, because then if she just stretches her arm or raises her arm or reaches somewhere, then it already uncovers the elbow, and then you have yourself a problem. I know it may not seem like a big deal, but I promise you it is. And then next is the knees. A woman must wear dresses or skirts. It must be dresses or skirts. She's not allowed to wear pants, because pants are men's clothing, and plus they're not modest. But the dress or the skirt, if she's not going to wear the ideal, which is to wear a dress or a skirt that reaches all the way to the feet, that's the ideal, where everything is covered, with the exception of the feet. And some righteous women even cover their feet, but you don't have to. But some women want to show a little bit of their skin or whatever, or their body, and that's allowed up to the shin, which means that the dress or skirt has to cover 6 inches under the bottom of the knee when you're sitting down. So when you're standing up, it's even more. When you're standing up, it's covering probably almost 2/3 of your leg, more than 2/3 of your leg. But the dress or the skirt has to be long enough where when you sit down, it's covering 6 inches. It's not only covering the knee, but the bottom of the knee plus 6 inches. So that's what a dress or skirt is supposed to look like if you're going to wear one that's not covering the entire leg. And again, the 6 inches from the bottom of the knee, that's the minimum requirement. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. Ideal is to wear something that goes all the way to the bottom. That's ideal. But, it's okay to wear something that's a little shorter if you'd like. But again, 6 inches above, beyond the bottom of the knee when you're sitting down. Some say it's 4 inches, but of course, when it comes to modesty, a woman must be stringent with it, and it's smarter to add those 2 inches here, because those 2 inches could be the difference between Gan Eden and not such a nice place. Because clothes shrink, people get bigger, and so on and so forth. Not that the 4 inches isn't, if someone wears, let's say, 4 inches beyond the bottom of the knee, Does that make them wicked? No, not necessarily, because there is an opinion that says it's allowed. The problem is that clothes doesn't stay the same. They shrink. People get bigger, like I said. People's figure changes, and then that 4 inches becomes 2 inches, and then no inches, and then you have yourself your favorite dress has become a tragedy for your neshama. So that's it. That's pretty much modesty in a simple way. Loose fitting clothes. The colors again should not be attracting. Also, you shouldn't wear any clothes with a lot of writing on it, especially or even designs that have insinuations or indications of the private area of a woman. There's certain dresses that the style of the dress is very, very modest. Like, for example, the Muslims, they have a lot of modest clothing, but the problem with many of their dresses is that the style of the dress, as far as the design, the cut, is modest, but many times they have these designs on them where, although the designs themselves are not a problem, is that they created those designs exactly in a certain design where you see that it's pointing directly to the private areas of the woman, which makes them the opposite of modest. So you're allowed to have designs on your clothes, but it cannot obviously point to the part that we're trying to cover. Writing again on the clothes should be as limited as possible, and ideally nothing. Especially not in the area of the sex organs of the woman, whether that be a chest or below. Needless to say, the back. And a woman just needs to use her head and understand that she has to look at her clothes not just based on her own taste and what she likes, but also based on the eyes of a bystander that's looking for a date, that cares less if you're married, that cares less that you're religious, that cares less that you're Jewish, that cares less about everything. She has to look at it from that end. So, like I said, although we're not saying that people need to be ugly, we also do not need to be a living flashlight, stop sign, and so on. We need to be attractive. If we want to be attractive, that's not a problem, but not attracting. But even more importantly than that, remember that the whole aspect of beauty is that it's supposed to be beautiful for your husband, which means that if the only time that you wear nice clothes and and you take care of yourself is only when you leave the house, but when you're in the house, you look like there's a bomb went off, and your husband, when he comes home from work and all he sees is you in pajamas, that's a very serious problem. Why? Because it's supposed to be the opposite. He is the only one that's supposed to see you done up and pretty and beautiful, and the rest of the world, we care less about what they see, quite frankly. So a person needs to know that. Not to only look good when you're outside. It's more importantly to look good inside when your husband sees you. And only care about what his taste is, not what Steve and Carlos from the supermarket think. It's very, very important to ask your husband, what does he like? Obviously, assuming that he wants you to wear modest clothes. If he wants you to wear not modest clothes, then obviously his opinion goes in the garbage. But if he's a righteous husband that wants you to wear modest clothes, then you should wear the things that he likes. Because again, all that's important is for him to like it. Of course, you need to like it also. But again, if it's obviously it's very important to have the husband enjoy the beauty of his wife, especially when they're private. When he sees her in the house and they're having dinner together, it's nice to see the wife wear a nice dress. If she wears earrings, it's nice for that. But we don't necessarily need to do that, all of that for the outside. But we also don't need to look like we're walking garbage pails either. So just keep this recording on your phones, ladies. And anytime you're confused, just listen to this recording, because I think I pretty much covered everything. And, so anytime you're confused, anytime you're forgetful, anytime you go shopping, anytime you are not so sure if you should wear or not wear something, you listen to this recording and I'll simply tell you these are the rules that you need to comply with as far as being modest in accordance to our Torah. That, again, the Torah is the opinion of God. It's not my opinion. It's not any one rabbi's opinion. It's the opinion of God. God wants his princesses, his queens, to be preserved, meaning that he wants them to only share their beauty, their special beauty, with their husbands, not with everybody else. A woman that shares her beauty with the whole world is unfortunately frowned upon in heaven, even if she does all of the other mitzvot. So it's very, very important for a woman to know this, that there's modesty for a woman is a deal maker or a deal breaker. If she's modest, Kadosh Baruch Hu will put her in Gan Eden. If she's not modest, then it doesn't matter what she does, she's going not to Gan Eden. So it's very critical. Modesty for a woman is like learning Torah for a guy. Guy learns Torah, as long as he follows the laws and everything, he'll go to Gan Eden. If he doesn't learn Torah, it's virtually impossible for him to go to Gan Eden, because he won't even know how to keep the Torah without learning Torah. So hopefully this covers everything for you guys, the colors, the sizes, the shapes. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to ask. But also I always remind you guys, when it comes to these groups, these WhatsApp groups that we have, it's very good that you guys ask questions, but try to refrain from saying a statement as if that's the law, because it'll confuse other people. Many times people have done that in the past, over the years, where they make a statement as if that's the law, because that's their opinion, and that many times it was wrong. So we don't have the ability to follow every single text message and in the group, so I don't want to miss out on one of these messages, and then somebody thinks that wearing tank tops for women is allowed, and or even men, and therefore it's they put it on the group, and then somebody else reads it and thinks that's allowed now. So don't put yourself in trouble with Hashem by stating your opinion. You could ask questions with no problem, but when it comes to the actual law, you have to have sources. You have to have a valid source that's not your opinion. Everything I said to you is the opinion of Gdolei Israel, of all of the sages. This is in the Shulchan Aruch. This is in many, many places. Everything I said to you is simply standard Halakha. So there's no differences of opinions here, with the exception of what I told you about the 4 and the 6 inches. But needless to say, that's all minimum requirement. We obviously, to be righteous, we try to do a little bit more than the minimum, because we want to show Hashem that we love His mitzvot so much. We sometimes want to do a little more than what He's even giving us, because we love them so much. He asked for 4, we want to do 6. He asked for 6, we'll do even 8. Why? Because we love Hashem. May Hashem bless all of you. Kol Tuv.